In this video for fair division, we're going to talk about the method of sealed bids. With the method of sealed bids, we are talking about discrete assets. These are assets that need to stay together. We cannot cut them up into pieces. Let's learn about this method by looking at an example. Here we have Abe, Betty, Carl, and Dora, and they all need to share a set S of assets containing 5 indivisible items. They each secretly write down what they think the value of each item is. And here's what they wrote down. You can see in the table of values all of the values that each player placed on each item. Here's how the method of sealed bids works. The first thing we need to do is figure out the total value that each player has placed on this set of assets. Let's add a couple of rows to this table. If we add up all of the evaluations that Abe placed on items 1 through 5, we get a total value for this set of assets of $2,120. For Betty, adding up all of her evaluations, she feels like the entire set of assets is worth $2,020. Similarly, Carl feels that everything is worth $2,100, and Dora feels that the evaluation is $1,960. Let's think about what each player feels is their fair share. If Abe feels that the total set of assets is worth $2,120, then a fair share should be 1/4 of that, or 25% of that, because there's 4 players. Dividing this by 4, we get $530. That is, Abe will be happy as long as he walks away with at least $530 worth of assets or money. With Betty, she feels like the total assets are worth $2,020. So in her eyes, a fair share is 1/4 of that, or $505. She'll be happy if she walks away from this game with at least $505 worth of assets or money. Similarly, Carl feels that his fair share is worth $525, and Dora feels that a fair share is worth $490. The way that the items are distributed in this method is that the player that bids the highest on each individual item wins that item. So let's first look at item 1. Abe feels that item 1 is worth $290. Betty feels that it's worth $310. Carl thinks it's worth $255, and Dora feels that it's worth $400. Dora is the highest bidder, so Dora wins item 1. Item 2, Abe feels is worth $90. Betty evaluated it at $110, Carl $105, and Dora $170. So Dora wins item 2. With item 3, Abe evaluated it at $320, while Betty, Carl, and Dora each labeled it with $205, $275, and $345. So once again, Dora is the high bidder and gets item 3. We can do the same thing with items 4 and 5. Now this may not initially seem super fair that Dora gets 3 items, Abe and Carl each get 1 item, and Betty doesn't get any of them. But let me show you how this method makes that right. Let's first talk about Abe. Abe received item 5, which is worth $715 to him. In his eyes, $530 is a fair share, so he's over by $185. So he needs to pay $185 into the pot. Betty's situation is a little bit different. Betty didn't receive any items, so far she's got nothing. She's under the amount of her fair share by $505, so she's going to get $505 from the pot. With Carl received item 4, which in his eyes is worth $885. Since he considered $525 to be fair, he is over by $360, so he needs to pay $360 to the pot. And finally, with Dora, she received items 1 through 3 with a total value of $915 in her eyes. What she considered to be fair was $490, so she is over by $425. That is, she needs to pay $425 to the pot. At this point, each individual has exactly their fair share. If they received items that were worth more than their fair share, they needed to pay up. If they received items or no items less than a fair share, they received money from the pot. Now let's check out the status of our pot and see if there's anything left over. In our pot of money, Abe, Carl, and Dora paid into it $185, $360, and $425 respectively. This means that $970 was paid into the pot, and that takes care of Abe, Carl, and Dora. Betty pulled money from the pot, $505 to be exact. This leaves a balance of $465 in the pot left over. With the leftovers, we divide them equally to each of the 4 players. $465 divided by 4 players is $116.25. So for a final allotment, each player gains $116.25. And that's how the game is played. Let's talk about what each player walked away with. Abe walked away with item number 5, worth $715. In cash, he had to pay up $185, but then he got $116.25 back. This gives Abe a grand total evaluation of $646.25. So in Abe's eyes, he got way more than what he considered to be a fair share. Let's do the same for Dora. Dora received items 1, 2, and 3, and those were all worth $915 in her eyes. In cash, she did have to pay out a lot of money, $425, but she did get $116.25 back. This gives her a grand total of $606.25. That's the total evaluation of the items she received, plus any adjustments with the cash. Since she considered a fair share to be only $490, she did really well based on her value system. We could do the same thing for Betty and Carl and find out that they also received more than their fair share. And that's how the method of sealed bids works.